Jake Miller, a human cargo pilot from Earth, was never meant to land on planet Zoreth. His ship had taken damage during an asteroid storm, and his fuel was leaking fast. With no other choice, he followed a distress beacon to the nearest habitable planet, a wild and ancient world not registered on any human map. As Jake's ship crash-landed in the jungle, smoke rose into the sky. He stumbled out, coughing, clutching a small pack and a translator chip. The air was breathable. Gravity was strong but manageable. But the moment he looked around, he realized he wasn't alone. From the thick trees came sounds: heavy footsteps, war drums, and chanting in a language he didn't understand. Jake followed the noise, hoping to find help. What he didn't know was that he had wandered straight into the heart of a sacred alien ritual. In the center of a giant stone arena, dozens of muscular alien males stood in a circle. They were tall, almost 8 feet, with rough blue skin and glowing tattoos that marked their rank. On raised platforms, beautiful alien females sat watching, dressed in silks and armor. Like queens, Jake walked into the open arena, confused but calm. The crowd suddenly fell silent. All alien eyes turned to him. One of the warriors stepped forward and roared something. The translator in Jake's ear kicked in. "A new challenger enters." The crowd cheered wildly. Jake blinked. Wait, what? Another alien threw a sharp bone spear at his feet. 2 guards pushed him forward. He tried to explain he was just a traveler, but the translator couldn't keep up. To them, his presence meant one thing: he had come to fight in the Varakai. The sacred mating challenge. The rules were simple: fight to survive. The last male standing would win the right to choose mates from the females present. And the humans? They didn't even know such traditions existed. Jake tried to back out, raising his hands. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm just, But before he could finish, the first opponent charged at him with a spear. Jake ducked out of reflex. Years of survival training kicked in. The alien swung the spear again, but Jake grabbed a nearby rock and slammed it against the attacker's head. The alien crumbled to the ground, unconscious or worse. The crowd went silent for a second, then they roared to them. This human had just defeated one of their strongest warriors with nothing but human instinct. The alien females began to whisper and look at each other. One even leaned forward, eyes locked on Jake. Jake stood there, sweating, heart pounding. What just happened? Before he could catch his breath, another alien stepped forward, bigger, meaner, blood already smeared. Across his fist, Jake was pushed into a fighting stance again. This time, he knew there was no way out, at least, not yet. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "Okay, think, Jake, you've survived worse. Just keep moving." The second fight began. The alien charged, roaring like a beast. Jake dodged under the swing, kicked the creature's knee, and rolled away. He grabbed the spear from the ground and swung wildly. It cut across the alien's chest. The alien howled, but kept coming. Jake knew this wasn't just about strength, it was about survival. He used his smaller size and agility, letting the alien trip over a rock. As the opponent fell, Jake brought the spear down, not to kill, but to knock him out. It worked. The crowd lost control. The aliens began to chant his name, or what they thought his name was. Yaka, yaka, yaka. Jake was stunned. He hadn't meant to fight. He didn't want to win anything, and then he saw her. An alien girl, tall, graceful, with golden eyes and violet skin, stood from her seat. She looked directly at him. Her voice was calm, but her words shook him. "You have passed the first trial, human. Now, the real test begins." Jake's stomach twisted. What real test? What had he agreed to? From behind her, more females stood, their eyes filled with curiosity and desire. Jake backed away slowly, muttering to himself, "I just wanted fuel, not a harem." But it was too late. The ritual had started, and the human was now the main challenger in the deadliest mating ritual in the galaxy. And if he kept winning, the prize wouldn't be gold or glory. It would be them. Jake didn't sleep that night. He sat near a glowing stone wall in a dark chamber under the arena, his back pressed against cool rock, trying to understand what had just happened. Two alien guards stood outside the gate, no chains, no words. Just silent, watchful eyes. He had won 2 battles. By accident, and now, without asking for it, he had become part of a dangerous alien custom, the Varakai, a deadly mating ritual, where only the strongest male survives and earns every female present. Jake didn't want to fight. He didn't want a prize. He only wanted to fix his ship and leave, but the aliens wouldn't let him go. They believed he was part of the ritual now, and worse, they believed he was favored by the gods. At dawn, the metal gate creaked open. A female voice spoke from the shadows. "You must come. The second trial awaits. This one ... will burn." Jake turned to see the same alien girl from before, the one with violet skin and golden eyes. She stepped closer. Her armor shimmered like starlight, and she carried herself like royalty. "I'm not your warrior," Jake said, his voice low. "I don't belong in this madness." She tilted her head. "Yet you fight better than most born for it." Before he could answer, 2 guards grabbed him by the arms, not violently, but with firm respect, and led him upward into sunlight. As he stepped into the next arena, Jake froze. It was a massive pit, circular in shape. The stone floor was broken and glowing in places, with lava bubbling beneath cracks. Pillars of flame shot up from hidden vents, and the heat made it hard to breathe. The crowd was already waiting. The alien female sat higher up now, dressed in more elegant robes. The violet-eyed girl sat in the center, a golden crown on her brow. The drums began. A loud horn echoed across the pit. From the far side, 3 new challengers entered. These were not like the last ones. They were armored with sharp claws and eyes full of hatred. Their bodies shimmered with heat-proof skin, and their weapons were curved blades that pulsed with alien energy. Jake's stomach turned. 3 against 1? Seriously? One of the guards beside him spoke for the first time. "You face the fire trial. Survive, and the matriarch herself may name you worthy." Jake looked up at the stands, confused. "Which one is the matriarch?" The violet-eyed girl rose too. Her feet. She wasn't just a witness, she was the prize, and now she was watching him fight for her. And all the others. The gong sounded. The 3 warriors charged at once, fanning out to trap Jake in the center. He had no weapon, no armor, just his instincts. Jake sprinted toward the nearest lava vent. The fire roared behind him as he slid under a blade swing and grabbed a metal rod that had fallen from a previous match. It was bent and heavy, but it would do. He spun around, swinging it hard at one of the attackers. The blow hit the warrior's knee, forcing a scream from the alien. The crowd gasped. The second warrior lunged, slicing Jake's shoulder with a burning blade. Pain ripped through him, but he held his grip. Jake ducked, rolled through a lava crack, and came up behind one warrior, slamming the metal rod into the alien's back. The warrior crumbled, groaning. 2 down, 1 left. The final attacker was smarter. He circled Jake slowly, blade ready, eyes cold. Jake's breathing grew heavier. The air was so hot, his skin stung. His vision blurred. The alien struck, but Jake let himself fall. The blade passed over him. And then Jake did something only a human would dare. He kicked the alien into a vent. A burst of fire shot up, roasting the warrior in midair. The crowd went silent. Jake lay there, panting, skin blistering from the heat, arm bleeding from the cut, but he was alive. 3 elite warriors. 1 human. Winner. Jake. The cheers began slowly, then louder. Then wild. The matriarch raised one hand, signaling the trial was over. Jake looked up at her. She was standing now, smiling. He didn't know why, but something in her expression wasn't just approval. It was interest. Curiosity. Desire. And maybe something else. Jake woke up to soft fingers touching his skin. His shoulder burned where the alien blade had cut him during the fire trial. He opened his eyes slowly, thinking he was in a dream, but the ceiling above him was carved stone, glowing faintly with alien symbols. A cool cloth pressed against his wound. A girl was kneeling beside him. Not just any girl, the violet-skinned, golden-eyed alien beauty who had watched every fight from the highest seat. She was no longer wearing her battle armor. Now she wore a long silk robe that shimmered like stars. Jake blinked. You? She looked down, her voice soft. Yes, human, I am Lyra, and I belong to you now. Jake sat up too fast and groaned from the pain. Wait, what? No, that can't be right. Lyra didn't move. She remained kneeling, her hands folded neatly. By the laws of Zorath, you claimed me when you passed the fire trial. I am the first among the highborn females. I was promised to the strongest, and now that is you. Jake looked around. They were alone in a chamber lit by glowing vines and warm stone walls. It was peaceful, like a royal bedroom. But he felt trapped. I didn't claim anyone, Jake said. I didn't even want to be in your stupid ritual. Lyra tilted her head. Then why did you fight like your soul was on fire? Jake went quiet, because he had to survive, because he had no choice, because something inside him refused to lose. Lyra stood slowly, walking toward a round basin where steam rose from a silver bowl. She dipped the cloth in the water and returned, pressing it to his wound again. Jake didn't stop her. What happens now? He asked. Lyra met his eyes. The final trial is tomorrow. If you win, you are crowned Verkai male supreme breeder. All highborn females will belong to you. You will have power. Status, bloodlines that carry your seed. Jake stared. I'm not here to breed aliens, Lyra smiled softly. And yet you already carry the strength of a king. Your blood spilled. Your body endured, and your instincts defeated 3 warriors meant to kill you. Even the stars favor you now. Jake leaned back, frustrated. This is crazy. Back on Earth, I'm just a pilot who delivers parts. Not some chosen hero. I don't want females thrown at me like trophies. Lyra knelt again, this time closer. Her voice was lower. More honest. We are not trophies. We choose to. The ritual gives us to the one who proves worthy. We have watched males for generations. Brute strength, violence, no kindness, no purpose. She paused, then touched his hand gently. But you fought to survive, not to dominate. You showed pain, but also mercy. That is why I knelt. Jake looked down at her fingers resting on his palm, soft, warm, alive. Do you regret it? He whispered. No, Lyra said. I have never felt safer than I do now. A silence fell between them. Jake didn't know what this was. A bond? A trick? Some ancient alien custom playing games with his life? But deep inside, a part of him whispered, she's telling the truth. Before he could speak again, there was a loud knock on the chamber door. A guard stepped in. Prepare the human. The champion has returned from the Death Moons. He demands blood for his crown. Jake's eyes narrowed. Champion? Lyra's expression changed. The softness disappeared. Fear entered her golden eyes. Yes, she whispered. The one no one has beaten for 12 cycles. The one who burned 5 males alive and took 20 females as his harem. Jake clenched his fists. And he wants me dead now? Lyra looked into his eyes. He wants more than that if he wins. He will reclaim us all, me included. Jake stood slowly. Then I guess I can't back down. Lyra reached for his hand and squeezed it. You may not have chosen this path, human, but now we are on it together. Jake stared at her. For the first time since landing on this planet, he wasn't sure if he wanted to leave anymore. The palace halls were quiet, but the air was full of hate. Jake walked through the glowing corridors with 2 guards at his side. His wound still ached, his thoughts still spinning from Lyra's touch, her words, her truth. But now, there was something heavier in his chest. The real champion had returned, and he wanted blood. As Jake passed through a stone archway, he heard something, not footsteps. Whispers. Dark voices from behind the walls, alien males, ones who had lost to him, who had been humiliated in front of the females, were watching. And planning? He didn't need a translator to know what they felt. Jealousy. Rage. Shame. Jake entered the open training ground behind the palace, where his next battle preparations were to begin. The guards stepped away silently, leaving him alone. In the torchlit yard, he wasn't alone for long. 6 alien males stepped out of the shadows. They weren't warriors in the official trials. These were outcasts, angry males who had lost the chance to mate because of him. Their tattoos glowed red not blue marking them as broken challengers. One of them stepped forward. He was tall, horned, and his eyes were full of hate. "You are not worthy," the alien growled. "You are a mistake." Jake raised his hand slowly. "I'm not here to fight you." "You already did," another hissed. "You stole our honor. Our females, our future." Jake stepped back. "It was an accident. I didn't even know the rules." A fist flew toward his face. Jake ducked, rolled, and came up ready. The outcasts charged, but something was different this time. Jake didn't have fire vents or stone pillars to hide behind. No weapons. No roaring crowd. Just him and their fury. The first alien tackled him to the ground. Jake struggled, punching upward, knocking the attacker off. Another one grabbed him from behind, trying to choke him. He kicked back, slammed his head into the alien's jaw, and broke free. They weren't fighting to win a trial. They were fighting to kill. One of them raised a jagged knife. Jake's eyes widened, but just as the blade came down, an explosion of purple light struck the ground. Smoke filled the training yard. And then came her voice, fierce, royal, burning. "Enough!" Lyra stepped through the smoke with a group of armored females behind her. Their weapons gleamed like stars. The jealous males froze. "Touch him again," Lyra said coldly, "and I will personally strip your names from the gene pool." The outcasts stepped back slowly, glaring, but they obeyed. The ritual laws were clear. Even jealous warriors could not fight outside the trials. Once the matriarch had spoken, Jake dropped to one knee, catching his breath. Blood dripped from his lip. His ribs ached. Lyra rushed to him, placing her hand on his back. "You should not walk alone now," she said softly. "Not until this is over," Jake chuckled weakly. "Guess I'm more popular than I thought." She didn't smile. "You are. The popularity is dangerous on Zorath." As they helped him to his feet, another alien female stepped forward. Taller, older, with icy blue skin and silver eyes, she looked at Jake with deep curiosity. "I watched your last trial," she said. "You don't move like our males. You fight like you're dancing." Jake raised an eyebrow. "It's called not dying." She gave a short laugh. "The champion who awaits you tomorrow has killed every opponent in 3 breaths or less. He is a monster. But you are unpredictable." Jake looked around at the female warriors surrounding him. "Are all of you really okay with this?" he asked. "Just giving yourselves to the winner of a blood sport." The silver-eyed female stepped closer. "It is not just about strength. It is about who will protect us in a galaxy full of enemies. We choose the one who survives because survival is sacred." Lyra touched Jake's arm gently. "And now, some of us want to choose you." Jake didn't speak. He was still trying to understand this world, its laws, its cruelty, its beauty. But in that moment, he knew one thing. Tomorrow's trial wouldn't just be a fight. It would be war. And if he lost, not only would he die, but Lyra and the others who now stood beside him would be taken by force by a creature worse than any warrior he'd seen. He looked up at the stars above the arena, his fists clenched. "I didn't come here to be anyone's mate," he whispered, "but I'll be damned if I let them take you from me." The sky above Zorath burned red, a rare celestial event. The twin moons aligned. The ancient race called it the blood eclipse. It only happened once every 50 cycles. And under that red light, the final duel would begin. Jake stood in the center of the grand arena. This one was far larger than the others, carved from black stone and built by ancestors long gone. The air was silent. No drums, no chants. Only the low hum of something ancient, something watching. He felt it in his bones. This was not just a battle. This was a judgment. Thousands of alien eyes watched from stone balconies. Alien females in royal robes sat behind protective shields. Even Lyra sat silently, face hidden under a golden veil. No emotion. No words. She was not allowed to speak during the final trial. Jake looked across the arena and finally saw him, the champion. His name was Korvax, and he was nothing like the others. 8 feet tall. Scars over his chest and neck, eyes black like a dead star. His body was wrapped in spiked armor forged from meteor metal. His hands were bare, each finger ending in a curved claw. He moved like a predator, slow and silent. Korvax didn't speak. He only stared. Jake tightened his grip on the only thing the arena allowed him to carry, a bone staff, heavy and jagged. It felt like a twig in his hands. A deep voice echoed from the walls, ancient, robotic, ceremonial. Final trial begins. Only one may leave. Jake's heart pounded. He whispered to himself, "You've survived worse, remember? Just survive." But this was different. Korvax charged. He moved with speed no creature that size should have. The ground shook as he ran. Jake barely rolled to the side as claws slashed the air where his head had been. The champion turned fast, kicking Jake square in the chest. Jake flew across the arena. He slammed into a pillar and dropped to the ground, gasping for air. His ribs screamed. He spat blood. Korvax didn't pause. He was already running again. Jake grabbed a chunk of broken stone and threw it. It hit Korvax's face, but the giant didn't flinch. He punched down. Jake rolled again, staff in hand, and jabbed it into Korvax's knee. It bent barely. The giant growled, grabbing Jake by the neck and lifting him into the air. The crowd gasped. Jake struggled, clawing at the hand, squeezing his throat. Spots filled his vision. Korvax leaned close and finally spoke. Weak, small, not worthy. Jake choked out one word. Wrong. He jammed the jagged edge of the staff into Korvax's eye. The scream that followed shook the walls. Korvax dropped him, roaring in pain. Black blood poured down his face. Jake didn't wait. He ran to the edge of the arena, climbed the broken stone wall, and leapt from above, bringing the entire weight of his body down, smashing Korvax's head against the floor with the base of the staff. The ground cracked. Silence. Then Korvax rose, bleeding, blinded in one eye, snarling, but alive. He grabbed Jake and slammed him into the ground again and again. Jake screamed. The staff broke in half. Jake was losing. He knew it, but he also knew one thing. No alien here understood. Humans didn't stop when they were losing. They only fought harder. Jake crawled to a pillar and grabbed the broken staff's sharp end. Korvax charged again, roaring, arms wide to crush him. Jake waited, timing it perfectly. At the last second, he slid under the giant's legs, turned, and jammed the sharp bone upward into Korvax's spine. The roar that followed was not rage. It was defeat. Korvax dropped to his knees, shaking, eyes wide with disbelief. Jake stood slowly, bloody, trembling, face covered in ash and sweat. Korvax fell face first into the dust. Dead. Silence. Then the arena erupted. The voice returned louder this time. The champion is defeated. The human is now supreme male. The shields dropped. Lyra and the Highborn females descended the stairs. Jake turned as they approached. Lara stood before him. This time, she removed her veil. Her eyes were wet but proud. She knelt at his feet, and one by one, so did all the others. For a long moment there was no sound, just the dust in the air, and dozens of alien females kneeling before one broken, bloodied human. Jake couldn't believe what he was seeing. Lyra knelt at his feet, her head bowed. The golden crown once sitting above her brow now lay on the arena floor. Around her other Highborns followed her lead, each one placing their hands over their hearts in an ancient symbol of surrender. It wasn't fear. It wasn't submission. It was respect. Then came the voice of the High Priestess, ancient and metallic, echoing from the sacred platform above. The final trial has ended. The champion has fallen. The human has earned the right of Zorath. A heavy drum sounded. The old flame towers around the arena lit up with white fire never seen before by outsiders. It meant the law was now in motion. Ancient, binding, and unbreakable. The priestess continued. As written by the first mothers, he who defeats the supreme male shall be crowned Verkai, the chosen one, the bloodline father, the protector of the highborn line. Jake stood there, chest rising and falling with every painful breath. He looked down at Lyra. I didn't do this to claim anyone, he said softly. Lyra lifted her head. And that is why you've earned us. The crowd, silent till now, slowly rose to their feet. Alien males lowered their heads, some in shame, some in awe. A new order had been declared. A new alpha now ruled. And he was not one of them. He was human. Jake stepped back. There has to be a way out of this. I didn't come here to start a tribe. The priestess floated down from her platform, robes glowing with ancient lights. She looked older than time itself, skin like dried leaves. Eyes pure silver, she spoke slowly, not just to Jake, but to the world. There is no escape from the right once it has begun. But there is a choice. You may walk away alone, and in doing so, the females you have earned will be marked as dishonored. They will be cast out, never to bear children, never to bond, never to be chosen again. Jake froze. Lyra's eyes widened. They'll be punished? Because of me? He asked. The priestess nodded once. The right was made to protect the strong and punish the uncertain. Jake looked at the women kneeling before him, each one proud, powerful, beautiful in their own way. Warriors, healers, strategists, royal bloodlines. And yet, by their law, they were his now, but more importantly, they had chosen to kneel. They had chosen him, not because he demanded it. Not because he conquered, but because he survived with heart. He clenched his jaw. What happens if I stay? The priestess smiled. You will be given the royal chambers. The Highborn will live at your side. You will seed the next generation of Zorath. You will protect the sacred bloodline. You will not just be a male. You will be father to a world. Jake looked at Lyra again. Her eyes shimmered, not with fear, but with hope, not just for herself. But for all of them, I'm just a pilot, he said softly. I was delivering engine parts 2 days ago. He looked around. At the warriors who had tried to kill him. At the men who had lost everything. At the crowd now watching a single decision. Then he looked at Lyra's hand reaching out for his. He took it. And the arena exploded in a cheer that shook the skies. Later that night, the stars over Zorath blazed like fireflies. Inside the grand palace, Jake stood on a high balcony, looking over the alien world that had almost killed him but had now made him something far more than human. Behind him, the sound of soft laughter, the scent of flowers, and the quiet footsteps of those who had once sat on thrones. Now walking beside him as equals, Lyra appeared beside him, her eyes reflecting the stars. You've changed everything, she said. Jake turned to her. No, you did. The moment you knelt. She leaned against him, her voice gentle. You don't have to be perfect. Just don't leave. Jake smiled, tired but content. I think I'm finally where I was meant to land. Jake had once thought the stars were cold. He used to stare out of his ship's window, drifting alone through endless black, delivering spare parts and food rations from one colony to another. He never stayed long. He never made friends. He never had roots. That version of him had died in the arena. Now, he stood at the center of the Highborn garden, a place no outsider had ever been allowed to enter. Glowing plants curled around tall crystal trees. Moonlight danced on the water of a small stream. And surrounding him were the women who once ruled from thrones. Now walking freely by his side, he was no longer just a human. He was their protector, their chosen. And in time, he had become something more, a partner, a husband, a father. To be. Lyra walked beside him, barefoot, her fingers tangled with his. Her belly had begun to show, subtle, but it was there. The first child born from a human in Zorath's long history. A child that would carry 2 worlds in its blood. Jake looked down at her. Still amazed. I crash-landed here looking for fuel, he whispered. And now, I don't even remember the coordinates of my ship. Lyra smiled gently. That's because you've already found what you were really searching for, he exhaled slowly. I didn't think I was looking for anything. She touched his chest. Every lost soul is. They sat near a glowing pond where other Highborn females gathered. Some played music on alien instruments. Others shared stories. One carved his name into a crystal stone meant to record the beginning of a new bloodline from the shadows. The alien priestess approached one final time. She bowed deeply. The council has spoken, she said. Your rule is no longer questioned. You have not only fulfilled the rite, but changed it. From now on, strength will not only be measured in blood, but in heart. Jake nodded. He had fought, yes, but never for power. He had fought for life, for dignity, for choice that, in the end, had earned him more than any crown. Later that night under the moons, a ceremony began, not a trial. Not a duel, but a union, the sky above Zorath lit with floating lanterns. Thousands of alien beings gathered, not just females, but males too. Even the broken warriors who had once hated him now stood watching silently. Not everyone had accepted him, but they all respected him. Jake stepped forward on the stone platform, his robe flowing behind him. Lyra joined him, wearing a dress made of woven starlight. Together, they placed their hands over the flame of union, a sacred fire said to recognize soul-bonded mates. The fire glowed white, then red, then blue. Then it turned golden, something never seen before. The crowd gasped. The flame had accepted the union. Across species, across blood, across galaxies, the priestess raised her voice for the last time. From this day forward, the human known as Jake shall be recognized not only as Verkai, but as father of the new line. Tears welled up in Jake's eyes, not from fear, not from pain, but from something he hadn't felt in years. Belonging. After the ceremony, he returned to the garden with Lara and the others. A small feast was laid out, music played. Stars blinked above like soft candles. Lyra leaned on his shoulder, whispering, "You're not just ours now. We are yours." Jake looked around at the women gathered near. Each one strong, each one different, and each one family now. He closed his eyes and listened. Laughter, music, life. This wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of something beautiful. He came to this world looking for fuel. And he left with something far more powerful, a family.